Good morning, my fellow humans. I am glad to see y'all today and Happy New Year. It is January 7th. Yeah, it's January 7th. So, yeah, this is the first week of this month. And yeah, happy 2024. This is going to be a good year. Yeah, it's going to be a good year. So, I'm going to speak life and be positive. It's going to be a good year. So, today I want to talk about a little bit of what's been trendy lately. And lately, many people have been talking about TD Jakes. I talked about TD Jakes on my last YouTube video. So I'm not going to really talk about him that much today. This is a different video that I want to make. And today I want to talk about Pastor Gino Jennings. He brought up a lot of memories from my early childhood, not my early childhood, I'm sorry, my early teenage years. In my early 20s, he brought that up because I was a part of the purity culture and I am a product of the purity and modesty movement. I'm a product of that, but as you can see, I am no longer a part of that. And so, but Pastor Gino Jennings, he's an American pastor. He's a pastor in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and he has the freedom of speech. And he did say some things that were good. Like he called out TD Jakes. He said that TD Jakes was wrong to be such a hypocrite. And that was good. He was wrong for being a hypocrite. So Gino Jennings was right about that. But Gino Jennings, he's kind of extreme. He's really extreme on some other issues. Like he uses the Bible to put women down. And the Bible does say things about women that put them down. And so 1 Corinthians 14:34, that part of the Bible says that women should be quiet, and it is shameful for women to speak in church. Now, with that being said, I don't understand why Christian women are so excited about God in church when the Bible says that they should be quiet in church. But Christian women, they do what they want to do. And there's a lot of women pastors out here. They're going to do what they want to do. And then we have 1 Timothy 2:11, and it talks about how women should be modest. You know, as a matter of fact, I have my Bible right here. And but yeah, as an atheist, I am not afraid to read the Bible. The Bible is what turned me into an atheist in the first place. But 2 Timothy, let's see, it was 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 11. It says, "Let the women learn in silence with all subjection. And I suffer not a woman to teach, nor have authority over men." This is the King James Version, by the way. "And Adam was formed first, not Eve. The woman was deceived, and not Adam." So that's why women shouldn't teach in church. Women shouldn't have leadership in church. And it says something that women can be saved through childbirth. I don't understand why there's so many Christian women when, you know, the scripture verse speaks against women. And so there's other verses in the New Testament that talks about, you know, women need to be modest. You know, being modest is good. That's good. You know, but some churches take it to the extreme, you know, but hey, this is a free country. You can dress the way you want to dress, you know, that's fine, you know. But, you know, some people take it to the extreme and they end up treating women who wear fingernail polish, you know, unkindly. So as you can see, I'm wearing fingernail polish, but at Gino Jennings' church, he's saying that women should not wear fingernail polish. And he's saying that women should not wear makeup. Women should not wear jewelry. Women shouldn't, you know, he said something else. But yeah, women shouldn't wear makeup, jewelry, and in his church, all the women are required to wear hats. Now, as you can see, I'm wearing a hat, but I'm wearing this hat by choice. I don't wear a hat every day, but I like the Western style. I like cowgirl hats, everybody has a right. So, but the women at his church, they have every right to be there. But Gino Jennings is teaching them that women who wear fingernail polish, they're not as holy. Women who wear lipstick are not as holy. And so if a woman at his church really believes what he's saying, all that's going to do is cause more division. And as you can see, I would never go to Pastor Gino Jennings' church because I don't want to be judged. I don't want women to look down on me because I'm wearing makeup and fingernail polish and earrings, so I will not be there. But the women who are there, they have every right to be there. But their beliefs are extreme, and I can say their beliefs are extreme, but I still want to make a point that they have every right. They have every right to believe this. They have every right to live this way. But Gino Jennings, he's doing something that I noticed a lot of other pastors do. So Pastor Gino Jennings, he complains a lot about the women's body shape. He also talks about women's hips. He says that women shouldn't come to church swaying their hips. And Pastor Gino Jennings said that big hips can take you to hell. Now, even if you are a Christian, you know good and well that big hips don't take anybody to hell. I don't believe that hell is a real place because I never found any evidence for hell. But when a pastor say that big hips can take you to hell, that's going to the extreme goofy area, So he said if a woman comes into church walking in, swaying her big hips, he said that he will beat her hips down to her knees. Now, hopefully he was joking, because if he really did beat a woman's hips, he would go to jail if he would literally do that. But he said that in his sermon, that if a woman comes in his church switching her hips, that he will beat her hips down to her knees. And that's silly. But since he talks about women hips so much, I know that he likes big hip women. He likes women with big hips, okay? So he needs to stop talking about women with big hips, or else more people will figure out that that's what he likes. He does. That's what he likes. And so one time, Pastor Gino Jennings was doing this interview with some people outside his church, and a man showed him a picture of a gospel singer. And it was a gospel singer. It was a woman gospel singer, and she had big hips, and she had curves, and she was wearing a fancy dress, and she was wearing makeup and earrings. And a man showed her, "What do you think about this woman? Do you think she's, holy enough? Do you think she looks like a Christian woman?" And another man puts the picture in Gino Jennings' face, and Pastor Gino Jennings leans forward and takes a good look at this woman. And the other man noticed, and he said, "Oh, I see how you lean forward to look at this woman." And Pastor Gino Jennings kind of ignored the man, but Pastor Gino Jennings said that she did not look like a Christian woman because she was wearing a nicely fitted dress that showed off her curves. But as you all know at this point, he liked big hip women. So if he keeps complaining about hips, that's what he likes, So he reminds me of this other pastor named Eddie Long. And Eddie Long was a man who would protest against the LGBTQ community. He would protest against the gay community. And Eddie Long, he was a pastor over this huge church. And he would always speak against the homosexuals, always speak against the LGBTQ people. But four young men complained that Eddie Long was inappropriate to them. So if those allegations were true, then that means Eddie Long was a hypocrite. Eddie Long, he died like in 2017. You know, he was 66 years old. But the reason why I bring up Eddie Long, because Eddie Long, he preached against the homosexuals. He kept preaching against them, but he was by himself, okay? He had some homosexual tendencies himself. So he was being a hypocrite. He was saying that it was bad, but he was secretly doing it himself. He was secretly on the down low, being a hypocrite. And also the same thing for this other pastor I used to know, and I used to admire her. Let me see, what was her name? Her name's going to come. Yes, Juanita Bynum. Juanita Bynum is a woman pastor, and she kept preaching in her sermons, come out of lesbianism, come out of lesbianism. She kept saying that and preaching that. And I was like, why does she keep preaching that? Why does she keep saying that? The lesbians don't bother me. Why does she keep preaching that, you know? So anyways, it turns out that Juanita Bynum was a lesbian herself. So she kept complaining, and not complaining, but she kept telling people not to be a lesbian. But she was a lesbian herself. She admitted that she was attracted to women. So I'm thinking, okay, if you were attractive to women, that's fine, but you're not supposed to get on a pulpit and say bad things about lesbian and be a lesbian yourself. That's being a hypocrite. She made some lesbians feel bad about themselves. She did not need to do that, you know. So this is how I feel about the whole situation. When you are an adult and you are having a consensual romantic relationship with another adult, then it's fine. That's all that matters. And when these Christian pastors complain about people with different sexual orientation, it's none of their business. But when they complain about it and make a big deal out of it, I'm going to suspect that's what that pastor wants. So what I'm trying to say is, when a pastor gets on a pulpit and complains about sexuality and complains about gays and complains about women with big hips, those are the things that those pastors want himself. That's what they want for themselves, you know. So if a pastor is complaining about sex, then that's just a sign that he wants sex himself, you know. So I was in a church, and this pastor was saying, don't look at women, don't look at women and all that kind of stuff. And I don't have that problem. But he kept saying, don't look at women, and don't use it as an excuse to say that you are enjoying God's handiwork. Now, this is 4 years ago. I haven't been in church in a while. But anyway, I was like looking at this pastor, and I was like, I know that you are checking out. I know that you're looking at women because you're making a big deal out of women. I mean, what the heck? You know, it was just really, really silly. You know, but anyways, that's silly. But, you know, I had a silly college experience. This is a long time ago, I went to a Bible Christian college, and I graduated from there. And, it was just really a silly experience. There was some men in the dorm, like about 3 of them, and they were having their little Bible study, and 3 men in the dorm confessed to each other that they had feelings for some of the women students. That's fine. And I was like, yeah, that's totally okay. You know, they just probably needed to go on a proper date. That's what I thought. They just need to go on a proper date, and they just, you know, need to get married, and they'll be fine. And I went on about my day. And then we had this huge chapel, and we separated the women students from the men students. And us women students, we were blamed for having a female body. We were blamed for it. And they said, we're going to check you. We're going to make sure that all you women are wearing modest clothes. We're going to make sure all your clothes are long, loose, and layered, because it's your job to make sure that men don't find you attractive, and you need to make sure that men don't lust after you. We need to make sure that you're not sexy. Now, as you can see, I'm a very rebellious person. I graduated from that college, and when I graduated, I started to dress the way I wanted to dress. Yes, I followed their rules. I did. I followed their rules, but when I left, I was like, I forgave myself for being born female. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to embrace myself and, rebel against those silly rules. But that was a long time ago. But when I was 17, I was in church, and stuff. And there was this man, and he was giving his testimony. And in his testimony, he said that he was at a bus stop and he was waiting for the bus. Okay, this is back when I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this man is waiting for the bus. And he said that a woman walked in front of him, and she stood in front of him because she was waiting for the bus too. And this man said that he claimed that this woman was there to test him. It was a woman with a nice body, and he said that she represented temptation. And he knew that Satan was trying to tempt him. That's what he claimed. And here I am, a 17-year-old girl, and I'm thinking, okay, a woman waiting for the bus, that has nothing to do with Satan. You think that the woman body is satanic? What the heck? How messed up is that? And I was irritated, like any other 17-year-old would be. Anyways, after he told his silly testimony and stuff, he started staring at me because I was, back then, when I was 17, I had a young, fresh face, and I was, very slender and stuff. And he was just staring at me. And I was like, when I was 17, I was aware that Christianity was not doing a good job with Christianity was not doing a good job with sexuality. Christianity was just not doing a good job with none of that stuff. And I knew that by the time I was 15. So anyways, there's been other silly stories of, women going to youth groups. And I have my own silly story of when I was teaching at a Christian Bible. No, it was a Christian high school. I was teaching at a Christian high school. It was a Lutheran Christian high school in Milwaukee. And I was wearing big hoop earrings. And this man told me that I shouldn't wear these big hoop earrings because it was a bad example to the other girls. And my personality was weak back then, and I felt embarrassed, and I took off the earrings. Now this man, he was the dean of students. I was a substitute teacher. Actually, I was doing my student field work. I was in the process of getting my teacher's degree. Anyway, it was not his place to tell me that. But I had a weak personality. I was really, really shy. I wanted to make everybody happy. I didn't want to make any waves. And so I was 25 at that time, and he was 25, and he was the dean of students. But anyways, he was like, you have to take those off. You shouldn't wear those in front of the girls. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And I took off my earrings. I was like, oh, okay. And afterwards, I was like, if I could go back in time, I would have told him, hey, there's nothing wrong with these earrings. All the other man teachers don't have a problem with it. Why you have a problem with it? You shouldn't. It was just really, really silly. I should not have ever taken off those earrings because he was the dean of students. He was not the dean of the teachers. It was just not his place to tell me what to do. It was just so silly. So it kind of reminded me of this other woman. She was in youth group, and she was 19 years old. Okay, that's a young woman, but she's at youth group, and she is wearing red lipstick. And the Christian man told her not to wear red lipstick because it turned him on. And so since it turned him on, she should take off her red lipstick. And she looked at the man, and she mumbled. She said that she mumbled something and walked away. And it was just, see the silliness. And there's another story of this other woman. She was wearing sandals, and so her toes were out. And this man said, hey, your feet and your toes, it kind of, it made him aware of his foot fetish. And so he told her that she needed to wear shoes that cover up that cover up her toes. And he was just being very bossy to her. And this was a girl in high school, and her grandma bought her those sandals. That's why she was wearing it. And so she got a little, attitude, rightfully so. And she grabbed her friend's hands and walked away. And they talked about this man, and they realized that he had a foot fetish and that he had no right to boss her around. But this happens in church. So you get the theme. The theme is, and the point I'm trying to make is, in the early 2000s, and it's still going on today, but in the early 2000s and throughout the 90s, there was this big fear concerning the woman's body. And back then, a lot of Christians, the Christians that I was hanging around, was trying to make girls and young women feel bad about having a female body. And I knew that it was stupid. I was constantly getting the message, hey, Sharice, you need to make sure that you don't be cute or attractive or turn any man on, because it's the woman's job and it's the girl's job to make sure that they don't make guys excited, because the female body is a distraction. Okay, so this was a problem for many, many women. And when I was in college, I have seen a lot of women be ashamed of their bodies, like really, really ashamed of their bodies. And they had difficulties when they got married. And so, but that was not my problem, because I was rebellious. And when I got married, I was like, hey, I'm ready to have some fun. I was already rebellious, so I didn't have problems when I got married. But some of these other women claimed that they had problems because they had a problem with their body, because they were told that their body was a sin. They were told that their body caused lust. They were told that their body was a distraction. And these certain women, these fundamentalist Christians, evangelical Christians, they had a problem with the female body, and these women were having a hard time growing up and being married, and it was really, really sad for them. And even though I was raised just like them, I didn't completely let the message sink in my head, because I knew that it was silly. I knew that it was absolutely ridiculous. So what the message that I received when I was a young woman in college, I was getting the message that man deserved to live in a world without the female body. I was taught that. Christian men were taught that. And it was so silly, and it was such a mess. But back to what's going on in many of the churches today. The point that I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of hypocrisy going on in church. There's a lot of predators in church. There are a lot of sexually frustrated adults in church. And for the frustrated adult who's suppressing themselves, when you're a parent and when you have your own kids, make sure that you don't trust these people. Don't trust these people to teach your kids anything about sexuality. Okay, so based on my Christian background, no Christian is allowed to teach my children anything about sexuality. None of them. Because they're so sexually repressed. And some of these Christians, I know, they don't even believe in dating. And I think that dating is very important, because dating is what helps you get married. We don't do arranged marriages. So since we don't do arranged marriages, you gotta date if you want to get married. But there's a lot of Christians out here who are saying that dating is wrong. And I'm like, no, dating is not wrong. But there's a lot of crazy Christian teaching, abstinence-only education. By the way, abstinence-only education is not real sex education. So these crazy, suppressive, sexually angry, frustrated, horny Christian adults, they're not allowed to teach my kids anything. You know, I know how to teach my kids the appropriate way to do things. Yes, I was a virgin when I got married. I've only been with my husband, and I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not trying to brag. You know, I'm just making a point that I just wanted to be responsible with myself. My situation is different from other people. You know, I did struggle with autism. And so since I have autism, it was good for me to just be with one man. But I know that there are other people who do just fine, not being a virgin before they're married. And that's totally fine too. That's totally okay. You know, so but anyways, that's just the point I wanted to make. I want to make that point. Be aware of these hypocrites and these sexually repressed people. Stay away from them because they can be dangerous. And so yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about that today. And so yeah, I am done with that for today, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.